A really important part of my pitching method, CPR, stands for
Yeah.
credibility. So that's when they would mention if someone else wore something similar, or if they've been featured before, or if they're a bestseller. So how much does that matter, and how much of it that should they include in the pitch?
Yeah, I think that does matter. I think, like a celebrity tie-in, like this has been worn by these like models or whatever, is always good for like fashion articles. I think for beauty products, yeah, like being able to establish, like maybe you could say like this has won an award, like Allure bestseller or something like that. There's sometimes they say, oh, like it's an Amazon bestseller. I feel like that's a little bit less like powerful just because there's so many Amazon bestsellers and like, you know, almost every product has 5-star reviews like somewhere. So it's like that's not always the biggest selling point. We do look at like reviews online, like what people are writing about the product, but that's not like our main source of like truth.
Yeah, because reviews can be fake, as we all know, right?
Yeah, right. And like there's always someone who like loves a product, but also someone who like hates it. So you have to take
Yeah.
it like with a grain of salt.
Exactly. So let's say the email is perfect. They listen to this podcast. They've gone and watched my PR masterclass. They send you the email. What is the usual timeline of like when you would respond to them? I always tell my audience to follow up, like after a week or 10 days. How do you feel about follow ups? And then how soon would you get back to them for either an interview or there's no interview involved?
Yeah, so I think a week is a good amount of time because like, if you do it any sooner, it might just be like I didn't sometimes like I depending on like how timely the pitch is or like what I'm working on, I might respond to it like right away or like, sometimes like on Fridays or Mondays, that's when I like go through my inbox and kind of see like reread things and be like, is there anything I missed? And yeah, I think a week is a good amount of time because that might be like maybe I just missed it or I kind of forgot to respond and that can like bring it up. Or like I said, like sometimes something doesn't work right now, but later it will. So I feel like a week also gives you time for maybe like I got a new assignment and now I need to write about this. Um, yeah, and I think like maybe 1 to 2 follow-ups is good. I feel like any more than that is just like that probably means I'm not going to write about it or at least not right now. And I think most editors don't take the time to like say no, like they're not going to reply. That's just like kind of like, they don't have time for that.
Yeah. So let's say you're interested. How would you respond? Do you need to get on the phone with someone, or what kind of research do you need to get that published?
Yeah, like so are you talking about like an interview or just
Yeah,
like
yeah. So let's
yeah.
say someone pitches you. What is required for it to be published?
Yeah, I like to, I'm open to do both like email interviews where I send them questions and I give them usually my deadline so I they know like how fast they have to respond. Or sometimes I'm happy to do like a phone call or like a Zoom interview, depending on like the story and like what questions I have. If it's like a sample request, yeah, I like to, kind of like tell them like, oh, I'd maybe want to try this product, and then they would hopefully like coordinate that. We can coordinate that together. And yeah, I think like to also it's like a lot of times it takes a while for an article to get published. So I can interview you and like it's not that I'm not going to write the article anymore. It's just like with everything else going on, it might take a few weeks for you to see that like actually go online.
Yeah. I mean, if you're busy, so if they even get a response, that means they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. And that means like, yeah, I read their stuff and I'm like interested, right?
Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about you've given us so many gems about the ins and outs of the pitching. For anyone that's listening, come back to this episode. It's literally like a masterclass on how to pitch a fashion commerce editor. Now let's talk about things they should not do that you see all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, like I said, is like pitching something that's just like not relevant. Like I'm not, it's funny. I once did an internship actually like at a showroom. So I was like kind of like the PR person. And I remember my boss was just like, email every editor you can, like the same pitch. And I think that's like a big mistake because, yeah, you're kind of wasting your time. And, it's like sometimes I just don't write about this topic or it's not the type of article I write. So I feel like that's the biggest mistake is like, trying to just email the same pitch to as many people as possible. and not really understanding, like, every magazine is slightly different. It has like a different voice, a different tone, and like covers different products. So like just like know who you're pitching. And I think like quality over quantity, like, obviously you want to reach a lot of people, but you also don't want to just like generalize your pitch that someone might just be like, nope, this doesn't